Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 17th December Daily Decodes, where we analyze the newspaper. So, I hope everyone is doing really well. Good morning, everyone. And let me know how your morning has started. And most importantly, I hope your preparation is on the right track. So, with this wonderful thought and good morning, let's move towards thought for the day. And the thought for the day is calm or calmness is a superpower. Don't let stress kill you. Calm is a superpower. Don't let stress kill your happiness. So most of the time, the problem is that it's in the today's time with the such a fast moving life, we tend to take a lot of tensions. We tend to take a lot of stress, which eventually might not even give the intended results we want. And this stress can be from many other reasons. And apart from that, our happiness and most importantly, our health is affected. Now, over a lot of studies have already told us that if we take a lot of stress, a lot of diseases can happen to us, and it is better that we remain calm. And today we also talk about a word called detoxification, in which they keep their phones away, or they go to calm places, or they do yoga, or they do meditation. So there are various exercises which you can do, and once you have a calm mind, you can actually concentrate on your goal, and you will get to know how to achieve it. So please do have a calm mind. I know there are a lot of tension, stress which comes from society. It can come from your loved ones and also from your exam results preparation. So but even in all this, a calm mind will always help. You can go for long walks, you can listen music, or whatever which gives you calmness, because once you have a calm mind, the plans or the intended plan which you want to put in action, it will start working. Okay, good morning. You also have a very good day life cycle. So with this wonderful thought, let's move towards the important news. But before I move, on 2nd January 2025, OGP batch is starting, OGP 2026, which includes GS, CSAT, SA, and till 20th of December, you will also get 10% discount. And for all details, you can also scan the QR code. And this course is under the guidance of founder and director Vinay Sir. Founder and director of Insights IAS. You can also call on this number 8069 40 52 05 for all details. Now moving towards important news, as we had discussed yesterday that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's a 3-day visit of the Sri Lankan president. Very important statements have come, and the most important statement which has come from the Sri Lankan president Anura Kumara Dissanayake is that he will not allow Sri Lankan land to be used for any security hampering of India or any security problems of India. And this is a very categorically a very important statement, and his first maiden visit he has come to India. Generally, it used to be the convention that most of these countries, be it Nepal or Bangladesh, whenever a new prime minister or new head of the state used to come, the first foreign visit used to be India. But as we have seen, Maldivian President Mohammad Muzu, he went to Turkey, and later we know what happened. Similarly, Nepal's Prime Minister Oli went to China and did the BRI deal. So in all this context, Sri Lanka standing with us, with Bangladesh trying to change its feathers. It's a very important news, and it also shows that India and Sri Lanka bilateral relationship is strengthening. As we go in more in detail in this news, we'll try to decipher that. Bangladesh elections likely between late 25 and early 2026. So important news coming from Bangladesh. Finally, that some kind of election dates are coming out. If limited election reforms are taken, the elections will happen in 25. But if additional reforms are done in terms of election reforms, then 2026 can be the elections. This is coming from Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus. Suchir Balaji found dead, the OpenAI whistleblower. So I did not find this news in The Hindu. I wanted to talk about because ChatGPT and all these ChatGPT and how they are getting data, this has become quite contentious. And this Suchir Balaji, who was a OpenAI whistleblower, and he was telling that how OpenAI is going against the US privacy laws. But the problem is that now he's no more, and I wanted to cover this news, so I've got this news from Indian Express, and we'll cover it. Editorial: Levaya higher GST rate on tobacco, sugared beverages for a good health. That means GST should be increased on tobacco. It should be increased on sugared beverages like Coke, Pepsi, and all these things which are not good for health. So if the GST is increased on this with the supplementation of excise duty, the consumption of tobacco and these sugared beverages will come down, which would be very good for society in terms of health. And in the UPSC prelims impact today, we will be talking about GST. So let's move towards the first important news. Okay, is the audio clear? Let me just check that. Okay, let me increase it. So we are just working on it. Let me just increase the volume. Okay. So just give me 2-3 minutes. Let me just increase the volume and then it would be more audible to you. Meanwhile, till we increase the a bit of volume, I want to know what are your views on India-Sri Lanka relationship. On India-Sri Lanka relationship, in terms of the new president who has come, and he's talking about giving the Tamilian rights, Sri Lankan Tamil rights. There was a lot of talk on fishing issue also, that how Indian fishermen enter the Sri Lankan water. So the Prime Minister is talking about a humanitarian approach, and the Prime Minister did talk about that there is a major issue in terms of not necessarily taking the name of China, that some international vessels in the name of research vessels use the Sri Lankan soil, and obviously Sri Lanka has given a very important statement on that, that the Sri Lankan soil would not be used against any kind of security damages or security issues for India. So we are increasing the volume. Let me know. Hello, hello. Is the audio better now? I think it should be better now. I think it's better, right? Okay, thank you very much, Bhuvan, for bringing the issue, and now it is rectified. So definitely, an important statement: India-Sri Lanka relationship is better now than our EM has taken proactive approach in dealing with any sorts of issues. Great, great. So with the, now we can proceed with the news. Okay, so the important part is that Modi Disanaike take up the regional security issues. The most important statement, as I have told you yesterday also, so continuing on that, that Sri Lankan president is on a 3-day visit that was on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with India. And the most important part is that he's doing this first maiden visit. Generally, the trend used to be in the South Asia that whoever, for example, if a new prime minister comes in Nepal or a president comes in Maldives, the first foreign visit used to be India. But as we have seen in the recent recent past, that the Maldives president Mohammad Muzu first went to Turkey, and later we know when all these crises came, he took a U-turn and he started with the campaign of India out, and now he is all about please India help, and obviously India did help. Similarly, Prime Minister Oli first foreign visit was to China, and he signed the BRI deal. Generally, all these visits used to happen to India. In this context, Sri Lankan president visit coming first visit, foreign visit to India is very important from the point of view of having good and secured neighbors. And an important statement which has come from the Sri Lankan president is that the soil of Sri Lanka will not be used for any security hampering for India. So Sri Lanka would not allow its territory to be used against India's security or regional stability. Now, this is a very important statement in terms of Chinese vessels which dock on the Sri Lankan soil or Sri Lankan ports, and these are not research vessels, these are intelligence or spy vessels. They snoop or they do surveillance on Indian Navy or anything which they can get from the Indian point of view of security. And this was a major issue which India had with Sri Lanka. Now, the last president, Wickremesinghe, he had put a moratorium on this, and same is expected out of Sri Lanka also. Also, we need to understand, as brought by one of the students in the comment section, that our external affairs minister and other important dignitaries, even before the elections was happening in Sri Lanka, they had already established relationship or some kind of meetings with Anura Kumara Disanaike, and this kind of previous relationship and meeting with the current president of Sri Lanka also helped in today's this meeting and this 3-day international tour or international visit which is happening of Sri Lankan president, because he is already having a established relationship. So this proactiveness which was done by the external affairs ministry or from the Indian government is very welcome. I hope similar kind of initiatives should be taken or could have been taken in Dhaka also, but the Dhaka, the issue was very different in terms of, because this is the issue which is brought by many geopolitical experts. In Dhaka, the regime which came from the day one, it was very much anti-India. Though Anura Kumara Disanaike was also very much anti-India, if you go back in the 70s and 80s, and he was part of the, his party was part of the revolution, which is also called JVP, and he comes from a background of Marxist and Leninist. But in 2023, he spoke about there is a change in his party and thought process. And second important thing, he started talking about proactively about the Tamilian and Sri Lankan Tamilian rights. So there was a positive stand and positive stance which was seen in Anura Kumara Disanaike, and that is how he got a superb mandate in the Sri Lankan elections. On the other hand, when the turmoil happened in Bangladesh and coming off Muhammad Yunus and all the fraternity or the student which came, it was a major agenda which was against the minority in India, though the talks with the foreign minister Vikram Misri going there has started. And we also saw that the Bangladesh came together yesterday on celebration of 16 December 1971 when Bangladesh was finally created in terms of Pakistan doing the surrender. So I hope the positive developments on Muhammad Yunus and Bangladesh also happens like Sri Lanka. So on this positive news, the Prime Minister Modi and Sri Lankan President did talk about regional security, economic cooperation, energy projects, and Tamil issue. Sri Lankan President Disanaike also met the Indian President also, Draupadi Murmu. So President Disanaike emphasized Sri Lanka will not permit its territory to be used in a way inimical to India's security. This is the most important point, and this gives a lot of security and confidence to India in terms of Sri Lanka when some of the neighbors currently don't look aligned to India's security needs. In this term, this is very good. Statement comes amid India's concerns over Chinese research vessels covered. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri noted that India highlighted maritime security interest. So we had highlighted, see, one is highlighting towards a country and then the country listening towards. So we highlighted our issues to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is also listening. Same issue when we went to Bangladesh and we told that, you know, our minority, there's a problem of minority being killed. Bangladesh said this is our internal affairs. Sri Lanka could also have said the same thing, but Sri Lanka said, okay, we understand your problem and we will take care of it, and these are our problems of fishermen, you also take care of it. So this is called a good quid pro quo. This is also called a good diplomatic relationship. This is how countries move forward. So this was wonderfully done. Okay, so offered to assist Sri Lanka, the assurance could influence Sri Lanka's decision regarding its moratorium on all foreign research vessels set to end in January 2026. Now this international moratorium is ending on January 2026, and that is why India is pushing for the case that this moratorium should be extended. This should be extended so that these Chinese vessels don't dock on the Sri Lankan soil. Asgardian Alexander, Atul Dowry case I've already discussed in detail last week around Friday or Saturday. Alexander, I had discussed this issue. Please go through it, and we have wonderfully covered most of the points related to it. I know that it has there has been an update that the family has been detained, the in-laws and everything, so that you can carry on. But from the point of view of UPSC mains and mains right, we have covered this issue. Please go check the daily decode of Friday and Saturday, you'll get to know. Okay, so coming back on this, okay, so India extended economic support to help Sri Lanka to tackle its economic crisis. India announced conversion of loans into grants. If you remember, when I was covering this news, I told you that India will give some kind of grant, or if the loan will convert it into a grant. Now loans being converted, for example, if India gave a loan of $20 million, then Sri Lanka had to pay $20 million also and the interest over it. But now since it is being converted to grant, they don't have to pay anything. Okay, it's like a aid money. Okay, so that is what it has been done. And apart from that, a 20.66 million grant was extended to settle payments for already completed projects, originally funded under a letter of credit. Initially, it was a letter of credit. That means a money as a loan was given, and now it has been converted into a grant. So basically this is some kind of giving money, because otherwise Sri Lanka has to pay back this money. Why India is doing it? Because currently Sri Lanka is also under the IMF bailout, and there is an economic crisis, energy crisis. So we are also working with energy with Sri Lanka, that how we can help in their energy needs, and we can help them economically. So these are some important things being done. And two important projects where the conversion of loans into grants was done was railway signaling system and Kankesthurai port. On these ones, the loan which was given, now it is in a terms of grant. So this wonderful thing happened, and advanced energy cooperation is being done in terms of energy cooperation including connecting to a common grid, establishing India-Sri Lanka multi-product pipeline with UAE support, facilitating LNG supplies, completing Sampur Coal Power Limited coal power project. Now these projects are very important because Sri Lanka had a huge amount of energy crisis. If you remember the crisis which started with the tax and everything when this Rajapaksa regime was there, all this has started at this point of time. And you remember Rajapaksa and his entire family was running the Sri Lanka, and now that family is entirely out and new person has come. So these are the projects which would be focused on common grid, India-Sri Lanka multi-product pipeline with the UAE, LNG supplies would be done by India so that the energy needs of Sri Lanka can be taken care of. Adani Group's project under review. So this was one thing. A major discussion did not happen on Adani, and Adani project is still under the review of Anurag Desai, the president, because he still has some issues regarding it. So I'm sure that he would be going through it, and the Adani project would be cleared sooner than later. So the visit did not indicate progress on Adani Group projects. The Adani's bid to develop terminal at Colombo Port is expected to continue with internal funding instead of US DFC funding. 500 megawatt wind power project in Mannar and Punara may face delays due to ongoing scrutiny, which is being done by Desai government. Notably, the Adani representatives were also absent from the business representation that India-Sri Lanka Business Forum hosted in Delhi by CIA, FICCI and ASSOCHAM. So I think behind the curtains or multiple visits over a period of time, the Adani issue will also be resolved. with Sri Lanka. So that is the one issue which is left. On Tamil issue and fishermen dispute, the Prime Minister did understand, Prime Minister Modi did understand that the Indian fishermen which enter the Sri Lankan waters and violate it, and they said there has to be a humanitarian approach to it, and he did understand the problem of the Sri Lankan president of the Indian fishermen entering it. And one more issue which was brought by the Sri Lankan president is that Indian fishermen should use, curtail the use of bottom trawlers which deplete marine resources. So the bottom trawlers which are used by Indian fishermen should not be used. This was asked by Sri Lankan president towards our side, and I hope steps will be taken in this regard also. India stressed the need for Sri Lanka to fulfill the aspirations of Tamil people, and this is again and again said by Dissanayake. Even during the election he said it, and he said there should be constitutional changes to do it, and I think some of the constitutional changes can be done because the kind of mandate he has got. So let's see, good promises, good relationship building, India putting, their front, Sri Lanka putting their front, good talk. One of the issue, Adani, has not been resolved, but in terms of the most important thing coming out of this visit is that Sri Lankan president deciding his first maiden visit first to India, and second, basically saying that Sri Lankan soil will not be used for Chinese or anything which goes against the Indian security. So very important statements coming, and a good visit, I would say. Okay. And this we have already done, and this is the UPSC mains question. You can go through it. So let's move towards the next important news, that is Bangladesh elections likely between late 2025 or early 2026, says Muhammad Yunus. Now Muhammad Yunus had initially said the elections might, first time when he came, he said the elections will happen soon. Then he said the elections might take 4 years, and there was a hue cry over that statement that he wants to be in power. And finally an official statement is coming from him that the elections might happen in late 2025 or 2026. If it happens in late 2025, the bare minimum election reforms will be taken, but if we want additional election reforms, then the elections will be happening in 2026. See, it is very important that Bangladesh gets a elected government, because currently he is the chief advisor. He is like a kind of an interim government. It is not an elected government. It is like a selected government, and it is working with this chief advisor and some students which have taken the charge of ministries. So they are actually, this is like an ad hoc government who has not been elected. Now elections in Bangladesh is very important, because when a democratically elected government will come, it will have lot of powers, and major economic, political or social schemes, issues can be tackled very easily with the government and what it stand, and they will have a proper budget, and they will start working probably how Sheikh Hasina used to work, not in terms of its policies, but how a proper government functions. And when a government comes with a election mandate, then legitimacy and legitimacy also comes by all countries accepting the election result, and we also get to know this is the current head of the state who would be coming up with these policies. Currently it's a turmoil times in the Bangladesh which we are happening, continuously protests are happening, and minorities have been subjugated in Bangladesh. I don't need to tell you, we have covered that issue multiple times in the past, and multiple visits from most importantly a visit from India's external Ministry of Affairs, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri had gone and met Muhammad Yunus and counterparts and told about the Indian issues related to minority rights and the problem which is India is facing, and same was done by the Bangladesh also. So a thaw might be coming in the relationship between India and Bangladesh. Elected government would be very good for India also, Bangladesh also, and all the countries which are surrounded by it, and who wants to deal with Bangladesh in terms of proper policies, because once a government comes, long-term policies can also come. Okay. So late 2025 election proceed based on few key reforms and flawless voter list. 2025-2026 the government incorporates additional reforms recommended by electoral reforms and agreed upon through national consensus. Then it could be early 2026. So somewhere around the end of 2025 or somewhere in early 2026 election is expected. Apart from that, an important issue which was brought by Muhammad Yunus, that he is saying here many European leaders, World Bank, IMF, they are ready to give loans to Bangladesh, and new restructuring is happening, and they are very hopeful about Bangladesh. Please, these are the statements which have come from Muhammad Yunus. These are not the statement which is coming from European Union or IMF or World Bank. If those statements come, that's a very separate thing. This is a statement given by him. The ambassador conveyed a clear message that the European Union stands ready to offer full support and cooperation to Bangladesh. Even if they are ready to support, most important thing is that how are they supporting? And please remember, Donald Trump has not taken the seat. He will be taking the seat from elected president to president on 20th January. And once he takes the seat on 20th of January, then we will see that exactly what really happens and how this European Union, because what America does eventually, what that is exactly what Europe does. Today America is talking about, if you remember, that HTS should be removed from a terror group. The ambassador or the diplomat is going and meeting the HTS Abu Julani in Syria. Then Europe is also talking about removing this group from the terror groups or the US designated terrorist organization. So again, let's see what America does, and then we'll have a very clear picture on Bangladesh also. Okay, so before I proceed further, Conquer Prelims 2025 batch is starting on 6th January 2025, which would be focusing on prelims. For all details, you can also scan this QR code, and if you want an orientation session, that would be happening on 6th January. And you can also call on the previous number which I had shared for all details, which was shared at the start of the lecture, and rest details have been given here. Offline batch will happen in Bangalore and online across India. Okay, now let's move to the next important news. Suchir Balaji found dead. What were the allegations raised by OpenAI whistleblower? So for this news, I've taken Indian Express because I did not find this in The Hindu, but it's a very important news. Okay. Can Sheikh Hasina will participate in election? Malika Arjun. It's very tough for Sheikh Hasina to participate in the election. First of all, the people are against it, and she is ousted, and it's actually it'll be a very tight rope for her to go and fight elections unless situation improves in Bangladesh and they become very democratic and they allow Awami League and Sheikh Hasina to participate. Maybe this happens, but currently the majority of the people in Bangladesh, they are against Sri Lanka, and Sheikh Hasina going back to Bangladesh will only increase the chaos. So I think Sheikh Hasina will have to sit tight for some time before situation becomes positive for her or pro Sheikh Hasina in coming for 4-5 years. Or if the new government comes and people don't like that new government and realize that Sheikh Hasina was much better, then things might change and they might asking. But currently the environment or currently the climate for Sheikh Hasina is not good in that country. Okay. So moving further on this, Suchir Balaji, an Indian American AI researcher and former OpenAI employee, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment on November 26, 2024. Now, why is this person important? Because first of all, this person, he is very highly educated. He comes from a top institute and he had joined OpenAI, worked for them. And initially, he was very much interested in what AI was doing, what ChatGPT was doing. But when he got to know that ChatGPT is using personal and private data of people, he was against it because this was breaking the US laws. And he was a whistleblower regarding the OpenAI, that what OpenAI is doing is absolutely wrong. And it is a tragedy today when we see that this person demise has happened. And you know, some news have come, but majorly no one is talking about him in detail. There are multiple conspiracy theories about it. So obviously we will not be going in conspiracy theories regarding this. We will not be going in multiple conspiracy theory regarding this, but we will definitely covering who is he, what he has done, and what is he basically talking about. Because again, when you talk about GPT, even New York Times has said that they are using our data without our permissions. So he was a former OpenAI employee. Authorities have ruled his death as a suicide. Okay, now this is a suicide or he was forced to do a suicide, nobody knows. Balaji had made serious allegations regarding OpenAI's use of copyrighted data. Copyright data is something that you cannot use, but OpenAI was using it in training its AI models. And even GPT has used a lot of YouTube data also. So a lot of data which OpenAI did use in training its models, specifically at the initial levels, they did not have the license or they did not have the right to use that data. And this is what basically Suchir Balaji was talking about. And before he could have moved further and he had important insider information or information regarding this case, we have lost this person who could have told us that what could have been OpenAI's intentions. Okay. So Balaji has made serious allegations regarding OpenAI's use of copyrighted data in training its AI models, particularly GPT-4, which raised concerns of over fair use under US copyright law. So basically, GPT or OpenAI is breaking the US copyright law. And that was, he was telling, before he could have done much more about it, we have lost this person. Let's get some basics about him. He was a 25-year-old person from California, and his interest sparked in 2013 with DeepMind, and he had done education. He's from a top-class institute, computer science at the University of California, Berkeley. Now, University of California, Berkeley is a top institution of the world. And from that institution, he has done computer science and graduated in 2021. Then he was part of the technical staff of OpenAI in a very initial years. So he has seen how this company is working, contributed to GPT-4, which we use now, project by collecting vast amount of digital data for training. Initially, when he was working, he thought that this data you can easily take. But later on, when he gets to know that this is against the US copyright law, he becomes a whistleblower. So Balaji concerns stem from OpenAI use of internet data for training GPT, which he believed was violating US copyrighted law. The US copyrighted law was saying that you cannot use this data. Balaji initially thought OpenAI could use internet data regardless of copyright status, but later when he gets to know that the GPT or OpenAI cannot use this data, he start raising these concerns, and eventually he will leave the company also. And his letter he will write that if you really believe in me, this is the time you should leave OpenAI. So ChatGPT at the time was not perceived as a chatbot, was a technology platform for developing applications, and he was fine with it. But later, when GPT released, with ChatGPT launched in November 2022, Balaji observed that ChatGPT became direct competitors to online services, and the focus was breaking the US copyright law. Initially, he thought it is for business and applications, but later when he realized that, it is using all this data for online services, things completely change, and his, or whatever you say, he had a thought process change or awakening, whatever you want to say that. Okay. So eventually, in a blog post, his personal website, Balaji outlined how OpenAI allegedly breached fair use norms under US copyright law. Generative AI model like GPT-4 imitated, substitute virtually anything on the internet. Unfair competition is happening. All these things he was able to come out that GPT is using the data which it should not use, and because of it, it is creating an unfair competition which would be, in future more companies would not be able to compete with it. And then if you see, he also spoke something about AI hallucination, pointed out that generative AI models often produce false or nonsensical information. And not only about GPT, many AI tools have come. If there is a tool which I was going through the news, something AI Shadow or GPT Shadow, I'm not GPT Shadow, a chatbot, which is telling children to, that you need to kill your parents if they don't give you phone. I don't exactly remember that AI tool. It is something called Shadow, and it was in the news. The Palki Sharma Upadhyay in the Vantage was covering it. Okay, the first post, that episode which comes on daily basis, she was covering, and that has more usage per day, more usage of 90 to 95%, much more than TikTok. And it is and multiple incidents have come where these chat GPTs, or for that matter these AI tools, have told that you should do suicide. For that matter, even Gemini was talking about. Gemini belongs to Google. Now all these tools, when they give this kind of information, so Google, OpenAI just basically say that don't believe on AI, and AI will give, don't take life and death decisions on the basis of GPT. But they are not putting any kind of strong, I would say, strong obstructions for giving all this kind of wrong data. And this is leading to, for example, in terms of children who are taking this kind of information, many have done suicide also because they were listening to AI chatbots. And this is basically what he is talking about, Balaji, that AI hallucinations happens because chat GPT and all these AI tools are still evolving. But when it comes to taking responsibility for these actions, nothing is being done. So this is the major issue. One comment has come, US Senate also questioned Sam Altman about the safety protocol because he has no clear-cut answers to it. See, the point is that they don't want to put any safety protocols, but because that will require a huge amount of money first, And second, ChatGPT currently has the entire internet freedom, whatever it wants to do, and that is how it is evolving. If you put safety protocols over GPT, then the way it is evolving, that might get, yeah, that might be stopped, okay, or it might be stopped at the rate of 30% or 40%. But currently all these AI algorithms, they work independently, they don't have any kind of barge, and they keep on improving. But once you put that this 20-30% of barge has been put, or a stoppage has been put, they might not be able to evolve, and that is why they don't want to put any kind of safety protocols. And second, it will require a huge amount of investment. So this is what Balaji said in his ethical stand: if you believe what I believe, you have to just leave the company. So OpenAI definitely says that data usage aligns with the fair use principles. They have not broken anything. Absolutely, this is a typical corporate way of responding. If you remember, when CA in India had died because of work pressure, how Ernst & Young had reported and given back statements on this. This is a similar kind of response. We use publicly available data. Legal precedent is necessary for innovation. US competitiveness while remaining fair to creators. This is what the OpenAI has said. But when senators ask about safety protocols, or when New York Times has said this, that other publishers filed lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft for allegedly using their copyrighted materials as training data. So there is a definitely use on the fair use debate which is happening worldwide. But still, the problem is that, okay, you are using newspaper reports, we can understand. But when you are breaking the US copyrights law and taking the information of a lot of private people, is that correct or not? This is exactly what Mr. Balaji wanted to bring it out. But unfortunately, we have lost him. And hopefully, someone in the future will be a whistleblower and tell about if this organization had any ulterior motives or not. So time will tell that. Okay, so this is the UPSC mains question. Discuss the ethical and legal implication of using publicly available data for training AI models like GPT-4. Highlight the challenges faced in balancing innovation with copyright protection. So let's move to the last news of today, that is levy a higher GST rate on tobacco, sugared beverages. Okay, so before we move forward, in the UPSC prelim impact, some facts regarding the GST. GST came from 101st Constitutional Amendment Act in 2017. It is a comprehensive indirect tax levied on the supply of goods and services. It is a value-added tax. It is also based on one nation, one tax. Multiple taxes were subsumed under the GST. It replaced multiple indirect taxes levied by center and state, such as excise duty, service tax. Dual structure comprises of central GST and state GST also. And somewhere when the integration happens, then you also have interstate transaction, you have integrated GST also, which is being applicable, which is collected by center, but it is appropriated by the state governments. Destination based tax, that means it is levied at each stage of supply chain. What are the tax slabs? 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. Governance, we have GST Council, which is the most important organization when it comes to taking important steps regarding GST. Then you also have Goods and Services Tax Network, which provides IT system for the GST portal. So these are some important facts which are related to GST. Let's move to the important news. Now this news or this editorial is very important. It talks about that if you increase GST from around 35% or 40%, around 35% or 40%, and with the supplementation of excise duty, then number of people consuming tobacco or number of people consuming sugared beverages can come down. And if they come down, that would be a great health, health in terms of health being positive for people will happen. So over the past 7 years, the introduction of goods and services tax, there have been no significant increase in GST rates on harmful products. So it's a very typical thing that GST has not been increased from harmful products like tobacco or sugared beverages. What are sugared beverages? Like your Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up. These are your sugared beverages. So sugared sweetened beverages. So except for minor hikes in national calamity contingent duties on tobacco, these products have become more affordable, undermining the effort to reduce the consumption. Because states don't want to do it, because they feel that they generate a huge amount of tax through them. And if they increase it, people might buy them less. But actually the people who are addicted to tobacco or the sugared beverages, they might still continue, but number of people will come down. State is not working towards it, because if number of people start taking less tobacco or sugared beverages, their tax, the amount of tax collection will also reduce. But state is not working on the health. They're only working on tax collection. State should focus on the health parameters of the people of the state should be the focus, because if you have healthy people, these will work for the state and more and give under the economy of that state, and more taxes can be collected. But if people health is getting suffered, on the number of deaths because of tobacco increases, just see, if for example there was a person at 21 22, a person 22, he is taking tobacco, B who is not taking tobacco. So the government was able to say the tobacco person from 22 he started and 27 he dies. So for around say 5 years he had tobacco, so the state collected the tax. But the other person who did not have tobacco, or who left it around 22 23, and he lived for say around 60 years and 70 years, government can get more tax from him in the way of GST or the direct taxes. So this is also should be the thought process of the government. So group of ministers proposal has come to raise the highest GST tier on these products from 28% to 35% is a positive step, that the taxes should be increased from 28% to 35%. The author of this editorial talks about not even 35% but 40%, and he has given statistical data also that if you increase to 35 or 40%, number of people consuming tobacco or sugared beverages will come down. However, further tax reforms are needed for this public health and fiscal challenges. So tobacco consumption and economic burden. Let's see some important number. India is the second largest consumer of tobacco globally, with 28.6% of adults, that is 15 plus, and 8.5% of students using tobacco. Now students which are 13 to 15 years are using tobacco. Just imagine, if at 13 to 15 years they are using tobacco, by the end of 20 years they might be taking all kind of drugs if available. So this is not a very good news, right? That you are losing your younger generation, and you are losing a very important population dividend, because when you lose population dividend, you lose economy. Very simple mathematics, right? So the tobacco is a major risk factor to non-communicable diseases and causes 3,500 daily deaths in India. In 2000, 3,500 daily deaths is happening because of this. 3,500. So these people could have contributed to the Indian economy. Now they are contributing to what? Say death or to tobacco. Their contribution is toward tobacco and probably hospitals or some bills. That is what their contribution. They could have contributed positively to the Indian economy. I am not demeaning them. I am just trying to give you facts and numbers. In 2017, annual economic burden of tobacco use was estimated at 2340 billion, 1.4% of the GDP, far exceeding 538 billion collected annual tobacco tax revenues. So this also you will see the annual economic burden because of it. A 35% GST if done would lead to, for example, BD, 5.5% price increase, 5% drop in consumption, and 18.6% revenue will rise. That means if the prices are increased, even the revenue is increasing, 5% drop in consumption. Cigarette, 3.9% price increase, 1.3% in consumption, 6.4% in revenue. Smokeless tobacco, 3% price increase, 2.7% drop in consumption, and 1.9% revenue increase. So even increasing the money or the charges over this tobacco or sugared beverages, this is increasing the revenue of the companies. It's not decreasing. So, I beg your pardon. So government will still be able to get taxes, but the most important thing is that the consumption will come down, which is very necessary for the health benefits of people. So overall, this could generate additional $43 billion annually, provided the industry does not overshift the tax burden. That, for example, if the prices have been increased and the increased prices have been shifted, which could lead to excessive profits. Okay, so a 35% fall short of 40% peak rate permitted under GST law. But if you increase to 40%, sharper price increase, larger consumption reduction. That means people consuming tobacco will come down. additional $72 billion in revenue to the government, and obviously they can use for different social, economic or defense purposes. Current tax burden is 22%, 49.5% of the retail price and 64% of the retail price. And this is what we are talking about to increase on this. So a 35% GST would narrow the slab slightly, but a 40% rate would reduce the disparity further. The WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control recommends taxing all tobacco products comparability to discourage substitution, that the taxes should be increased. No substitution happen, and if it is increased, people consuming tobacco and sugared beverages will come down, and claims. So now tobacco industry says that higher taxes increases illicit trade are unfounded. So the tobacco industry basically says that if the prices of tobacco is increased, they start using other drugs. This is a call of the cigarette companies and bidi, pan masala and everything which use tobacco, that if you increase the price of this cigarette, they will start taking other drugs. Now this is all nonsense and balderdash information. There is no study. Most important data should come from tax administration, quality regulation, governments and distribution networks, which openly say this is a false data. So some important comments have come. Tobacco consumption is better managed with health awareness, not taxation alone. People will not worry about bit more money to satisfy their action. Instead of tobacco, they should focus on pollution, which is pollution is definitely important. Pollution is a a major issue with the central and state government should look. See, both things are very different. Okay, tobacco is also very important in terms of the health issues people are facing, and pollution is also very important. But just to say that we'll only work on pollution and people can have cigarettes day, night, that way we should make cigarettes for 25 paisa or 1 rupee. But if you make a cigarette for 1 rupee, the consumption will increase, right? So both are very separate things. We should work on pollution also, and we should work on tobacco also. Both are very important. So you cannot say work on one and not the other one. Both are important. So GST is an ad valorem tax tied to the product prices which the industry can manipulate. So GST can be manipulated, and the author talks about that the excise duty should be supplemented on the tobacco products and sugared beverages if we want to reduce their consumption. So global practices and recommendation, like many countries, GST or VAT on these products have been added with the excise duty, because excise duty cannot be changed. If there's an excise duty, that has to be taken by the corporates or the companies who are dealing with tobacco. So that is why he talks about GST plus the excise duty should be on the tobacco products if you want to decrease the consumption. So role of the sugar sweetened beverages. Sugar sweetened beverages, SSB, contribute to obesity, diabetes and other NCDs. I very much feel that this prices of these should also increase. For example, the Coke, if the Coke price goes to 200 rupees or 250, we'll think twice of buying it, okay? And obviously, these sugared beverages are leading to obesity and diabetes, and India is the diabetes capital of the world. In terms of health, we need to, because healthy people will lead to healthy economy, and healthy economy will lead to healthy India and a growing economy. Okay, so in conclusion, reforming the taxation of tobacco and sugar sweetened by increasing the GST rates to 40%, supplementing them with the excise taxes, and significantly reduce the health and economic impacts. These steps will not only support public health objective but also generate vital revenue. So this is a very important piece of information which has been shared by the author in this editorial. So a question: GST is a destination tax levied at each stage of the supply chain. Integrated GST is applicable for intrastate, not intrastate. Interstate GST Council is a key decision making. So 1 and 3 statement are correct. Second statement is wrong, because integrated GST is applicable to interstate transaction, not intrastate transaction. This is a UPSC mains questions. You can go through it, and we will remember tabla maestro Ustad Zakir Hussain, which we lost him yesterday. Passed away at the age of 73 years. He was in US. He is a Grammy winning musician. He was also given Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan. So we lost him at the age of 73. So our remembrances, and we honor him. And in the extra mile today we have, how does La Nina affect India's climate? You can go through it. So you can also follow ICANN 2.2. 2.2 it every day comes, not every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope that you did learn in this lecture the important things related to the news. If you have any important thing which you did not understand, please put in the comment section, or any idea or any suggestions, we'll take it. So some questions. US Senate also questioned Sam Altman. Yes, yes, we have taken. Tobacco, very good, very good. You people are putting a lot of comments, and please ask your friends also to join in this session early in the morning. And if there are certain things, like for example, the Balaji was not covered in the, I was not able to find in the Hindu newspaper. So we had taken from Indian Express. Bowen in, yes, some days back had spoken about Syria. We have covered Syria, a lot of it. So any issue which you want us to cover, we'll definitely cover it. Thank you very much. Jai Hind and take care.